danger.
Okay, so it's my turn to ask you some questions because you keep it all silent. How are you training for your long mountain races?
Which is kind of a nice, unfortunate to get to do that. But it's really tough to do them coming from flat. Where we are here, there's not a lot of vert to get. So that being said, strength has become more important. And I wouldn't say that it might help with speed. It does help with speed getting up climbs. But I would say more so as a long distance runner, and here I'm kind of coming from the context of wanting to do these 100-milers. So it's more about coming back from the dead. Maybe that's a little dramatic, but I mean, there's so much problem solving that has to be done in these races, and to be able to get back up into a run is always it's tough, and it's one of the keys to doing these. So here in the flatlands to train for mountains, I'm on the treadmill a lot at an incline. And I make it as hard as I can. I'm carrying a heavy pack. My body's working hard. I'm trying to tax it as if I'm working as hard as I would at altitude. This isn't helping me acclimate. It's just getting me rock solid.
Right.
It's just making me tough as nails if possible. That's the goal. And eating while you're doing it. Eating while you're breathing hard. Eating while you're sweating. That's what you do. You train it. And that will help. It's not going to prevent every problem.
Let's just say you're eating solids along with goos, because my experience from goos, especially in Ironman, is you take too many of those and you've just coated your stomach and you feel pretty disgusted with it. So, I mean, everyone's different, but I mean, I've run by the food stations for the ultra or the 100-milers as I'm doing my shorter race, and actually some of it looks pretty good, but I see potatoes there, I see, salty things and M&Ms.
Yeah.
And can you eat all that?
Well, if you train up for it, yeah, you can. Yeah. And that's what I'm training up for now. I'm eating dinner. I'm eating dinner on my treadmill. I'm talking I'm holding a bowl of as hearty of food as I can. And, pastas are likely to happen in the kinds of races I'm doing, and rice is likely to happen. But I'm adding in just stuff that's hard to digest.
I'm fascinated about the night portion of it and how you eat when you feel like you can't absorb anything.
I could talk about night for a long time. I'm trying to think of the key things to mention. So I guess one thing I will say is, again, for context, I was a city girl pretty much always, and very fearful, afraid of the dark, afraid of being out because of animals, weather, people, everything. And I just remember being really terrified about being outside in the night. For all of those reasons.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They're all kind of valid too.
Yeah,
maybe not animals
do.
here as much, but people and whatever. You hear things. So those aren't
it's just
silly.
Lonely too.
And you're alone, and being alone with your thoughts, and coming from a corporate background where I never had time for my brain to really relax and just finish a thought. But now you're out in the dark with nothing. It's silent. Just your breath and the animals and whatever you think might be people. So anyway, fear is a big thing. I don't know how to explain how to overcome that other than to start with something that feels comfortable and then wean yourself off. So,
right.
I mean, a headlamp, obviously. Make it light, and that goes a long way.
I find the uniqueness of it. I can see that, but do you train? I mean, so that's one obstacle. How about another obstacle? Just training for night. Do you for night races? Do you have to training for night races?
Yes, definitely.
It's
things are different. I mean, at night it can work against you and it can work for you too.
Right.
You don't see trees going by, so you don't know how fast you're going, and it's you might think you're flying by and you might be really slow, or the opposite happens too. Now it's so mysterious, and it's even if you're running the same place all the time, you put it at night and it's a different place now.
Right.
So your mind can really enjoy that too if you get over the fear. So running with a group to start with really helps to get you used to it. And you see other people do it, and you're like, wait a minute.
I can do it.
People are doing this.
Yeah.
It's not I'm not exploring some new thing. People do it. So that helps a little bit. But fast forwarding, I guess, once you get comfortable with it, and learning where is safe to run and where is not, and don't share with people where you're going to be running a course and things like that. And now it's my favorite thing. And when I'm doing a 100-mile race, as I'm looking forward to it, I find myself looking forward to the night. And I find myself saying, I can't wait till the day is done. I can't wait to just now let's get to the soft part. Let's get to the soft, quiet part. where I can sink my teeth into the
interesting.
race. And that tends to be night.
Yeah.
And it's magical. It really is.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Anything I've ever done, even partially at night, is magical.
It is. And you won't ever regret that because
Right.
you find yourself saying, like, when would I ever do this? Like,
Right.
it's just special. And so 100-mile races, oftentimes you have a pacer that joins you, and you might have someone with you at night, so that eases you into it. But I've started getting to the point now where it's not practical to have pacer, and I'm kind of doing these things alone. And so kind of a milestone for me, last year I did Bighorn, which is in Wyoming, it's in the mountains of Wyoming, not populated, and did it with no pacer, and I found myself alone at night. Sometimes you're not, sometimes you got a buddy or somebody's the same pace as you, but I was alone. I did the whole thing by myself, and it's like I could find myself letting go of the fears. It was fine. It's the same trail I would have been doing with a buddy, and I'm okay. And that's why you do a race.
Do you have some low points at night? Like you think maybe you make it through to about 2 or 3, and then 4 or 5 it gets draining, or is it just goes up and down along with the trail?
It tends to be that oftentimes it's not a low for me because during the day it probably got super hot and I was struggling with something and trying to keep electrolytes or nutrition or whatever. And then it cools off and it's like a blessed relief. And then you get your high, because that's the thing with these 100 milers. You're going to have a low, but it's going to come back. You're going to get a high. So that tends to happen at night. I'm sure some people have had lows at night. I'm sure that's happened. I've hallucinated at night.
Yeah, I would think so.
But those are not... There are pleasant hallucinations too. You know?
Sort of. You have to come back though from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you change socks? I'm thinking of all these interesting little things that people always wonder.
So when I first got into this, I changed socks every marathon. And that has been wonderful. And when you change the socks, it's not just that you change the socks. You're also putting something on your feet. Like, depends on how wet the conditions are, but you're probably going to do something like a Desitin, or you're going to do something like an Aquaphor, you know, that's protecting your feet. It's an emollient. It's protecting you from the water. And that really is the biggest advantage. Plus airing your feet out for even just a couple minutes. It's really actually is different. My feet are pretty tough now, and I mean, I'm not going to say go without any sock changes, but I had a race where the cutoffs were super tight, and I didn't have time to change my socks until mile 80.
Wow.
I don't recommend it, but it can be done for sure, and I did it, and I think I came out of it with no problems.
Is there anything else in your singlets or your running shorts that you look for something that's a 100-miler?
That is always a thing I'm always like exploring.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously less rubbing is best for not having chafing. I'm always looking for something kind of flattering too, you know, like let's not discount that. You know, but as far as like the actual construction of the shorts, sometimes I can't fit everything in my vest. So I'm usually wearing a vest and I've got all sorts of stuff in there. Some of the races have mandatory kit, and it fills up all the pockets. And so if you're me and your stomach is like, what do you choose to not do? Eat. Okay, right. So I look for shorts that have that broad pocket on the front, because it's either that, or you get an extra belt, like Naked makes a belt where you can put things in. But then I've learned a lot of trial and error that can compress your stomach, and then you feel like cruddy. Yeah, so I do really like. I know that what's the brand that has the wide pocket?
Oh,
Wazelle. Wazelle has pocket.
Has it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So you use that. Yeah. And is any changes happening with just the packs that you carry? Different, lighter? You know, I see.
Yeah.
There's so many different kind of packs.
So there are a lot of different packs. Some of it comes down to capacity and availability to cinch it up so it's not bouncing on you. Right. Bouncing is important, and loading it up and running with it to see like how's it going to bounce on you is pretty important. So the first pack I had technically was sized to me. Technically it fit right. It took it out on a very long race, and after however many miles, stuff starts to kind of like really get you. It was too low on my back, and it was hitting my kidneys. It was so painful, so painful.
You might think it fits. Well, I never run that long, so.
Yes,
yeah.
And it wasn't until mile 60 or something where I was like, so I have one. It's a Nathan vest. You have the same one I have, that purple one. And it sits up high. So for women that are maybe petite, look into that one, or something similar that hits up higher. That's a tip I'd say. And then loading it. The other thing is, you know, whether you do your hydration in the back with a reservoir, or if you're doing the bottles, that stuff is a lot of anatomy, and it's a lot of like, how am I going to get through my aid stations? Am I going to take this whole thing off and fill this?
Right.
Do I have a crew who's going to somehow do that for me?
Right.
Or am I taking up bottles because that's super convenient?
Yeah,
versus
that makes a lot of
how much
sense.
water you think you need in between. And the aid stations might be 5 miles apart around here. Or if you travel to these mountain races, they might be 10,
Right.
20 miles apart. You have to carry a lot more water. So
that's a whole
things
big,
to think about, yeah. So a lot of people that are maybe coming from roads and wanting to do trails, or maybe shorter distance, thinking about doing longer distance, mainly if you are looking at doing something where you're going to be in the mountains or doing vertical, the training is going to be a little different in that regard. You're going to be looking at the ratio of miles to climbing. And so for me, every week I have a mileage goal I want to hit, and I have a vert mile I want to hit.
That's fascinating.
And if I run my normal route around here, that's fine, but I'm going to go over miles for the week when I try to hit the vert. I make that mistake sometimes. I'm not calculating my vert throughout the week, and then all of a sudden it's like time for my Saturday run, and I got to get in thousands of feet of vert.
Wow.
And you're gonna be way over your miles. And the reason for that is because if you're training for a specific course, the incline is gonna vary pretty greatly. So that anyway, don't do what I did, and do pay attention to all of that. And
that's
the ratio
probably why
matters.
you haven't been injured, because you're actually sticking to a ratio.
Yeah, I do
just
stick to
randomly add miles when you feel like it, or when the weather's good, or
yeah.
So that makes sense. Well, I'll save a bunch of other questions for later.
No,
I think
thank
it's
you.
interesting.
I don't know.
So thank you
Yeah,
for
thanks.
sharing.
Thanks for drawing me out, Dan.